The late afternoon sun cast a warm glow over Columbus as I sat at my desk, staring at the stack of reports that needed my attention. My office, a small space filled with the remnants of my career, framed awards, photos of past team outings, felt more like a prison than a sanctuary. I glanced at the clock, noting how quickly the hours slipped away. My husband, Mark, would be late again. He always was. I had agreed to help Alex with his work tasks after he reached out for guidance. He was bright and eager but struggled to find his footing in the corporate world. As my sister's son, he had always been like a younger brother to me, a relationship built on shared laughter and family gatherings. But now, as I prepared for our late-night session at the office, something else simmered beneath the surface. Alex arrived with takeout from one of those trendy spots downtown. The aroma of spicy chicken and fried rice filled the air as we settled in for an evening of work. He was animated as he talked about his projects, his enthusiasm infectious. I found myself leaning in closer, captivated by his passion and drive. "Thanks for doing this," he said, pushing his hair back with a hand that trembled slightly. "I've been feeling overwhelmed." "Of course," I replied, forcing a smile while trying to shake off the nagging dissatisfaction that clung to me like a shadow. "We all go through it." As we worked side by side, our conversations flowed easily between tasks, discussing strategies one moment and sharing stories from family gatherings the next. I loved hearing about his aspirations and dreams. They reminded me of who I once was before life became a series of obligations and routines. But beneath that connection lay an unsettling undercurrent, a spark that flickered to life each time our eyes met or when our hands brushed against one another while reaching for the same document. It felt wrong yet exhilarating. As we wrapped up our session for the night, Alex leaned back in his chair and sighed deeply. "You ever feel like you're just stuck?" His gaze held mine longer than necessary. "Every day," I admitted quietly, my heart racing slightly at his vulnerability. He nodded slowly, as if weighing my words against his own experiences. "I mean, it's like everyone expects you to have it all figured out." I could see it in him, the same frustration I felt daily, an unspoken bond forming between us amidst our shared struggles. Later that evening, after Alex left with promises to meet again soon, I returned home to find Mark sprawled on the couch, engrossed in his phone. The sight sent a pang through my chest. It was all too familiar. The disconnect between us had grown so vast that even silence felt heavy. "Hey," he mumbled without looking up. "Long day?" I asked half-heartedly as I dropped my bag on the table. He shrugged but didn't offer more than that simple gesture. As I made my way to the kitchen for a glass of wine, my nightly ritual, I noticed Mark's phone buzzing repeatedly on the coffee table. Curiosity gnawed at me as I caught glimpses of names flashing across the screen: Jessica, Sarah. A chill ran down my spine as realization hit me like ice water. He had been hiding something from me, a truth buried beneath layers of complacency and routine that we both pretended didn't exist. I poured myself a glass and leaned against the counter while thoughts raced through my mind like wildfire. How long had this been going on? Had he found solace elsewhere while I struggled to connect? The weight of betrayal pressed down on me like an anchor, dragging me further into despair. That night in bed was another exercise in avoidance. Mark turned away from me while scrolling through messages on his phone again, his world glowing brightly against the darkness surrounding us. The distance felt insurmountable as sleep eluded me entirely. In those restless hours alone with my thoughts, Alex's voice echoed in my mind, his laughter mingling with memories of family gatherings long past when life seemed simpler and love felt effortless. The next day at work brought another round of meetings filled with corporate jargon that did little to distract from my spiraling emotions. Each time Alex walked into my office with excitement about new projects or ideas sparked within him, I felt drawn into his orbit, a gravitational pull that threatened everything around us. "Can we go over these numbers together?" he asked one afternoon after catching me lost in thought during a presentation. Sure, I replied softly, heart racing at how easily we slipped back into our rhythm, two allies fighting against their respective battles while finding comfort in each other's company. As we pored over spreadsheets together again later that week, laughter bubbled up between us unexpectedly during an exchange about office politics. A lightness I hadn't experienced in years surged through me like electricity, igniting dormant parts of myself yearning for connection. But guilt clawed at me relentlessly. Every moment spent with him felt like betrayal layered upon betrayal, the weight pressing down until it became unbearable during those quiet moments when reality seeped back into focus. Mark's late nights, those texts. After one particularly intense discussion about future goals where Alex confided worries about being overlooked for promotions due to office politics, I found myself leaning closer toward him across the desk without thinking twice about it until our faces were mere inches apart. I get it, he whispered earnestly before hesitating slightly before adding softly, you deserve better. His words hung heavily in the air between us, a spark igniting something deeper within me that both terrified and thrilled simultaneously. But just then Mark's name flashed across my phone screen, breaking whatever spell had begun weaving around us. With trembling hands trembling slightly from adrenaline coursing through them, I quickly pulled away from Alex just as reality crashed back down around us both. Two lost souls searching for solace yet simultaneously shackled by choices made long ago, leading us down divergent paths filled with uncertainty ahead looming ominously above our heads, casting shadows over every interaction shared henceforth until decisions must be faced head-on, eventually leaving someone heartbroken no matter which way things fell out next time around. The moment lingered, a fragile thread woven between us. I could still feel the warmth of Alex's breath against my skin, a reminder of what had just transpired. Guilt surged through me like a tidal wave, crashing against the fragile walls I had built around my heart. I glanced at my phone, Mark's name flashing ominously on the screen. Laura. Alex's voice pulled me back to the present, soft yet uncertain. I met his gaze, searching for clarity in those familiar eyes. We shouldn't have done that, I murmured, though a part of me was reluctant to let go of the connection we had just forged. He nodded slowly, his expression mirroring my internal conflict. I didn't mean to cross any lines. Yet there was something unspoken in his tone, a hint of longing that made my heart race and my mind spin with possibilities. I turned away, unable to face the truth that loomed before me. The days that followed felt surreal. Each morning began with a sense of dread as I prepared for work, knowing I would see Alex again. Our interactions shifted subtly, every glance lingered longer than it should have, every brush of our hands sent shivers down my spine. The office buzzed with the usual chatter about deadlines and projects, but within that chaos lay an undercurrent only Alex and I could feel. One afternoon, while working late on a presentation in our shared office space, Alex leaned back in his chair and sighed deeply. You ever feel like you're living someone else's life? He asked suddenly. His words resonated with me more than I wanted to admit. All the time, I confessed quietly, not looking up from my laptop screen. Sometimes it feels like we're just going through the motions. He paused before adding softly, like there's something more out there waiting for us. I glanced at him, then really looked at him, and saw the vulnerability etched into his features. The weight of his confession hung between us like a fragile promise waiting to be fulfilled. Do you think we can change it? My voice was barely above a whisper as hope flickered within me. Alex hesitated before answering. Maybe we need to take risks. His words ignited something deep inside me, a mix of fear and exhilaration that made it hard to breathe. Just then, my phone buzzed again with another message from Mark. Can we talk tonight? The familiar knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. I should go, I said abruptly, standing up and gathering my things hastily. Laura, his voice trailed off as I turned away from him once more. As I drove home through Columbus' bustling streets filled with vibrant nightlife and laughter spilling from cafes, I felt utterly lost. Each stoplight felt like an eternity as thoughts raced through my mind, thoughts about Mark and our crumbling marriage juxtaposed against this new connection with Alex that both thrilled and terrified me. Mark was waiting when I got home. His presence felt heavy in the air as he sat at the kitchen table scrolling through his phone absently. A part of me wanted to ignore him entirely, to slip away into another world where Alex waited for me instead, but reality tethered me firmly to this moment. "Hey," he said without looking up. "Hey," I replied softly as I poured myself a glass of water. "Can we talk?" His voice held an edge that sent chills down my spine. I nodded slowly, dread pooled in my stomach as I took a seat across from him. "What's on your mind?" He finally looked up at me then, his expression unreadable but tinged with something darker than usual. "I've been thinking about us." The words hung between us like an uninvited guest at a party neither of us wanted to attend. My heart raced as memories flooded back, the laughter we once shared now buried under layers of resentment and unspoken truths. "I know things haven't been great lately," he continued cautiously, "but maybe we can work on it? Find some time for each other?" A bitter laugh escaped my lips before I could stop myself. How could he even suggest that after everything? Yet guilt gnawed at me. Wasn't it fair to give him another chance? "I don't know if that's enough anymore," I admitted quietly, avoiding his gaze as shame washed over me for considering what lay beyond this conversation, the possibility of something new with Alex lurking just beneath the surface. Mark frowned slightly but pressed on nonetheless. "What do you mean?" Before I could respond or articulate what felt like an insurmountable divide growing between us, a knock echoed through our home followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching our door. "Who could that be?" Mark muttered under his breath as he stood up to answer it. My heart raced once more as uncertainty filled every corner of my mind. What if it was someone who would unveil all our secrets? What if they uncovered everything? As Mark opened the door, relief washed over me when it revealed one of our neighbors seeking help with their car troubles, a mundane interruption breaking through the tension thickening around us both like fog rolling in off Lake Erie. But even amid this distraction, unease settled heavily upon my shoulders once more. How long could we continue pretending everything was fine? How long until this fragile facade crumbled beneath its weight? Later that night after our neighbor left and Mark retreated into another room leaving me alone with my thoughts, I found myself staring blankly at old photographs scattered across our coffee table, memories captured forever yet feeling so distant now. The truth weighed heavily on me. The undeniable connection growing between Alex and myself contrasted sharply against this stagnant existence shared with Mark which seemed increasingly hollow each passing day. And then came another realization, one that hit harder than any before. If things continued down this path unchecked, if feelings remained unacknowledged, wouldn't both relationships ultimately suffer? I lay awake long into the night contemplating these truths until sleep finally claimed me, only for dreams filled with visions of Alex's smile dancing just beyond reach reminding me what lay ahead could change everything forever should courage find its way into action soon enough. But what would be left behind? The morning light filtered through the curtains, illuminating the room with a soft glow. I lay there, tangled in sheets and thoughts, replaying the events of the previous day. Our lips met, an unspoken promise hanging in the air between Alex and me. The kiss had awakened something deep within me, something I had buried beneath layers of routine and obligation. As I sat up, the weight of my marriage pressed heavily on my chest. My husband, Mark, had been distant for months, consumed by work and his own distractions. I couldn't shake the feeling that our connection had frayed beyond repair. The late-night texts I had stumbled upon weeks ago haunted me still, a constant reminder of his infidelities. I had tried to confront him about it, but each time I opened my mouth to speak, silence enveloped us instead. I glanced at my phone on the bedside table. No messages from Alex yet. A part of me craved his presence, another part feared what that desire meant for both of us. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood up, willing myself to focus on the day ahead. At work, everything felt different. My colleagues bustled around me in their usual frenzy, but I was lost in my thoughts. The office buzzed with excitement about an upcoming project presentation that could elevate our department's profile significantly. Mark's voice echoed in my mind as he encouraged me to pursue opportunities like this one. Yet here I was, contemplating a different kind of leap, one that involved Alex. During lunch at a nearby cafe in Columbus downtown, I found myself staring out at the street filled with people coming and going. Each passerby seemed to carry their own secrets and stories, just like mine. Alex's laughter rang in my ears as I recalled our recent conversations about work challenges and shared ambitions. He confided in me about his uncertainty regarding his future career path. It was a vulnerability that drew us closer together. When he finally texted later that afternoon, "Can we talk? Need your advice," my heart raced with anticipation and dread alike. We arranged to meet at Scioto Mile Park after work. It was a place where we could find some privacy amid nature's serenity. As I approached our meeting spot by the riverfront, memories flooded back. Afternoons spent enjoying ice cream during summer festivals and quiet walks under autumn leaves with friends long gone by now. Alex stood waiting for me near a bench. His expression was serious yet hopeful. "Hey," he said softly as I reached him. "Hi," I replied, forcing a smile despite my swirling emotions. We walked along the riverbank in silence for a moment before he finally spoke again. "I've been thinking about everything." His gaze shifted to the water as if seeking clarity there. "What do you mean?" The question slipped out before I could rein it in. He paused before continuing, "About us, about how things have changed." The air thickened between us as he searched for words that felt too heavy to say aloud. My heart pounded louder than usual as realization hit. He felt it too, the undeniable bond forged through shared struggles and fleeting moments of intimacy. "I don't know what this means," he admitted finally, looking directly into my eyes with an intensity that made breath catch in my throat. I took a deep breath, fear mingled with longing within me. "Neither do I." We stopped walking then. The world around us faded into oblivion as our eyes locked onto each other's souls, the unspoken connection crackling like electricity between us. "Laura," he said softly, stepping closer until we were almost touching again. "I can't help but feel drawn to you." In that moment of sheer vulnerability and honesty, all doubts dissipated like mist under sunlight. I leaned into him instinctively as if pulled by an unseen force until we were enveloped in each other's warmth once more. Our lips met again, a gentle yet fervent collision, igniting all those feelings we'd tried so hard to suppress before now bubbling over into something tangible and real amidst uncertainty. But just as quickly as it began, reality crept back in, the weight of our circumstances crashing down upon us like waves against stone cliffs. What would happen next? How could we navigate this newfound connection without causing irreparable damage? As we pulled apart reluctantly, Alex looked troubled yet resolute, a reflection of my own inner turmoil mirrored back at me through his eyes. "I need some time to think," he said finally after what felt like an eternity of silence stretched between us like an unwelcome chasm filled with unanswered questions. "Me too," came my reply, a whisper barely audible above the rush of water nearby, but even saying it felt like sealing fate somehow. Choices loomed ahead demanding clarity soon or risk losing everything altogether, including each other. Returning home later felt surreal. Every corner reminded me of Mark's presence lurking just beyond sight, his laughter echoing through hallways now tinged with guilt instead of comfort or warmth from years past when love still flourished freely between us both without hesitation or doubt clouding judgment. Dinner was quiet, too quiet, as Mark occupied himself with scrolling through his phone while barely acknowledging my presence across from him at our small dining table adorned only by flickering candlelight casting shadows around untouched plates bearing remnants from last night's meal still lingering there, untouched by either one of us since then. How was your day? He asked, finally breaking silence but lacking any real interest behind those words spoken so casually they cut deeper than intended, leaving scars beneath skin barely visible yet raw enough for anyone paying attention close enough could see them shimmering faintly beneath surface. It was fine, came my automatic response, devoid of any real substance behind it. A practiced line delivered too many times over years spent living together, now feeling more like strangers sharing space rather than partners navigating life hand in hand anymore. As evening wore on, slowly dragging its feet towards midnight hour, creeping ever closer, threatening closure while leaving unresolved feelings swirling inside, churning restlessly, refusing peace even amidst darkness surrounding, outside world beyond these walls containing secrets hidden away too long already, threatening eruptions sooner rather than later if left unchecked. And just when things seemed stagnant once more, the doorbell rang unexpectedly, jolting both Mark and myself awake from reverie abruptly filled only moments earlier by tension hanging thickly between two souls desperately trying hold on to what little remained intact despite everything else unraveling around them, slowly but surely slipping away beyond reach forevermore unless someone took action soon enough before chaos reigned supreme, leaving nothing behind except shattered dreams lost forever. A long way down, uncertain paths diverging endlessly ahead. What now? Mark muttered irritably, shooting me glance filled equal parts annoyance, disbelief mixed together perfectly, creating cocktail bitterness, tasted bittersweet lingering palate even after all these years together, still unable find balance needed keep things steady. Afloat amidst stormy waters, threatening capsize ship, carrying hearts fragile enough break easily under pressure applied, wrong way at wrong time. I don't know, came my truthful answer, though part wanted lie instead, shield truth hidden deep within where only few dared venture close enough, see clearly past facades built up over time, protecting fragile hearts, yearning connection desperately sought after yet eluding grasp. Continuously, no matter how hard tried, reach out, touch, feel warmth radiating back towards self-reassuring presence, reminding alive still somewhere underneath layers built up, shielding vulnerabilities, exposed raw honesty. Revealed late nights spent talking, sharing dreams, hopes, fears, regrets, mistakes made, a long journey traveled thus far, leading here today, standing brink, decision point looming large ahead, beckoning forth future uncertain, fraught, danger unknown, awaiting discovery, just waiting, take plunge, dive headfirst into depths unknown, risking everything left behind, already fading fast away, fading fast away. The office buzzed with the usual hum of productivity, but my mind drifted elsewhere. Alex and I had shared something profound, an unspoken bond that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The late nights we spent poring over projects had morphed into something more than just work. I could still feel the warmth of his presence lingering in my thoughts, a stark contrast to the coldness that had settled in my marriage. As I sat at my desk, staring blankly at spreadsheets, the weight of my choices pressed down on me. My husband's early return from his business trip loomed large in my mind. He had always been unpredictable, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he sensed something was amiss. The last thing I wanted was for him to confront me about my growing feelings for Alex. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. "Laura, can you come over here for a moment?" My boss's voice broke through my reverie, pulling me back to reality. I nodded, forcing a smile as I made my way to her office. She was discussing upcoming projects and deadlines, but all I could think about was how much time Alex and I had spent together lately. "Are you okay?" she asked suddenly, her eyes narrowing slightly with concern. "Yeah, just a bit tired," I replied automatically. "You know how it is." She nodded but didn't seem convinced. "Make sure you're taking care of yourself. We need you sharp for this next project." I forced another smile before returning to my desk, where a message from Alex awaited me on my phone. "Can we talk later? Need to discuss some ideas." My heart raced at the thought of our conversation. It felt like an invitation wrapped in professional necessity. As the day dragged on, anticipation bubbled beneath the surface. Each glance at my phone felt charged with possibility. When the clock finally struck 5, I gathered my things and headed out toward our usual meeting spot, a quiet cafe nestled in the short North Arts district. The air was crisp as I walked down the street, vibrant murals lining the walls around me. The cafe was busy but familiar, it offered a sense of comfort amidst the chaos swirling in my life. Alex was already seated at our usual table by the window when I arrived. "Hey," he said softly as I slid into the seat across from him. "Hey." The word barely escaped my lips as our eyes locked for a moment longer than necessary. "I've been thinking about us," he began cautiously, his fingers tapping nervously against his coffee cup. I swallowed hard. Those words carried weight far beyond their simplicity. "Me too." He leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper as if afraid someone might overhear us discussing something forbidden. "I don't want this to be just about work anymore." My heart raced at his admission. My own feelings mirrored his unspoken desire for more than just late-night brainstorming sessions filled with laughter and shared ideas. "I know what you mean," I managed to say, though doubt crept into my mind like an unwelcome guest. Just then, a couple entered the cafe laughing loudly. Their carefree demeanor served as a painful reminder of what seemed lost in my own life, a sense of joy untainted by guilt or fear. Alex's gaze shifted toward them before returning to mine with renewed intensity. "We can figure this out together," he said firmly. But could we? Could we really navigate this tangled web we were weaving? My thoughts spiraled back to home, the impending confrontation with my husband hovering ominously on the horizon. "We should be careful," I cautioned softly as if saying it aloud might somehow make it more real, more daunting than it already felt. His expression faltered momentarily before determination set in again. He reached across the table and took my hand in his, an innocent gesture that sent shockwaves through me. "I don't want to hide anymore." The world around us faded away as we locked eyes once more, everything else blurred into insignificance compared to this connection sparking between us like electricity igniting dry brushwood waiting desperately for flame. "I don't either," slipped from my lips almost involuntarily before I could stop myself, a confession laden with vulnerability and hope intertwined within its fragile strands. What if this was wrong? What if it led only to more heartache? But then came another thought, what if it didn't? We spent hours talking about everything and nothing, our dreams entwining seamlessly while laughter filled spaces once occupied by silence heavy with unspoken truths waiting patiently for acknowledgement long overdue between two souls searching desperately for solace amidst chaos surrounding them both outside those cafe walls, where freedom reigned supreme even if only temporarily shielded from harsh realities awaiting return home soon enough. When night fell outside casting shadows across streets bathed in soft golden light spilling forth from shop windows glowing warmly invitingly beckoning forth patrons eager escape chill biting air wrapping tightly around them like an unwanted embrace clinging stubbornly, refusing release until warmth found shelter within cozy confines nearby. Suddenly realizing how late it had grown, I glanced at Alex who seemed equally reluctant part ways yet understanding necessity looming ever closer reminding us both responsibilities awaited returning home soon enough. "We should go," he said reluctantly breaking spell cast over us by moments shared together feeling almost surreal now fading fast away leaving echoes behind lingering gently whispering promises made between two hearts yearning connection desperately sought after yet eluding. Grasped continuously no matter how hard tried reach out touch feel warmth radiating back towards self-reassuring presence reminding alive still somewhere underneath layers built up shielding vulnerabilities exposed raw honesty. Revealed late nights spent talking sharing dreams hopes fears regrets mistakes made a long journey traveled thus far leading here today standing brink decision point looming large ahead beckoning forth future uncertain fraught danger unknown awaiting discovery just waiting take. Plunge dive headfirst into depths unknown risking everything left behind already fading fast away. We stepped outside together where cool night air enveloped us like an embrace, a bittersweet reminder of what lay ahead waiting patiently just beyond reach yet tantalizingly close enough taste sweetness lingering upon lips wanting savor every moment shared between us now forever etched memories engraved deeply hearts intertwined. Irrevocably bound together regardless circumstances surrounding lives lived apart previously kept hidden away shrouded secrecy cloaked darkness threatening unravel. Everything built thus far threatening expose fragile truths long buried deep within souls yearning connection desperately sought after yet eluding grasp continuously no matter how hard tried reach out touch feel warmth radiating back toward self-reassuring presence. Reminding alive still somewhere underneath layers built up shielding vulnerabilities exposed raw honesty revealed late nights spent talking sharing dreams hopes fears regrets mistakes made a long journey travel thus far leading here. Today standing brink decision point looming large ahead beckoning forth future uncertain fraught danger unknown awaiting discovery just waiting take plunge dive headfirst into depths unknown risking everything left behind already fading fast away. But then reality crashed down upon us when headlights illuminated familiar car pulling into driveway nearby. My stomach dropped as recognition set in. It was him. My husband home early from his trip unexpectedly catching glimpse fleeting moment shared between two hearts beating wildly beneath skin yearning connection desperately sought after yet eluding grasp continuously no matter how hard tried reach out touch feel warmth. Radiating back toward self-reassuring presence reminding alive still. Somewhere underneath layers built up shielding vulnerabilities exposed raw honesty revealed late nights spent talking sharing dreams hopes fears regrets mistakes made a long journey travel thus far leading here today standing brink decision point looming large ahead. Beckoning forth future uncertain fraught danger unknown awaiting discovery just waiting take plunge dive headfirst into depths unknown risking everything left behind already fading fast away. Laura. His voice cut through night air like knife slicing cleanly through tension thickening between us abruptly halting momentum gained moments before sending adrenaline coursing through veins igniting fight or flight response bubbling beneath surface simmering slowly rising boiling point. Reached finally erupting forth spilling chaos everywhere threatening engulf everything within proximity leaving destruction behind only remnants scattered haphazardly around ground once stable now shaken foundation. Crumbling slowly beneath weight pressing down upon shoulders bearing burdens too heavy carry alone anymore. In the days that followed, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Each morning, I would wake up and stare at the ceiling, wondering how I had allowed everything to spiral so far out of control. The tension at home was palpable, my husband's suspicions loomed over me like a dark cloud. He was more observant than I had given him credit for, and every glance he cast my way felt heavy with unspoken questions. At work, Alex and I continued to collaborate on projects, but the air between us was charged with an intensity that made it hard to concentrate. We shared stolen moments in the break room, exchanging glances that lingered a heartbeat too long. Each time our eyes met, memories of our last encounter flooded back, how we kissed and how it felt like stepping into forbidden territory. Those moments were both exhilarating and terrifying. Laura, Alex said one afternoon as we huddled over a report in my office. I got an offer for a position in Chicago. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed a hint of uncertainty. The news struck me like a punch to the gut. Chicago? A city known for its bustling life and opportunities? My heart raced as I tried to mask my reaction. That's great, I managed to say, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Yeah, he continued, glancing down at his hands. But it means leaving everything behind here, my job, my life, you. The weight of his words settled heavily upon me. The thought of losing him sent a wave of panic coursing through me. You should consider it, I replied, though part of me screamed for him to stay. He looked up then, searching my face for something unspoken. What about us? What about this, whatever this is? I wanted to scream that I didn't know anymore, that every choice felt like walking a tightrope over an abyss where everything could crumble at any moment. But instead, I shrugged and turned back to the report on my desk as if it could provide some clarity. Meanwhile, things at home were unraveling further. My husband confronted me one evening after dinner while we stood in the kitchen surrounded by the remnants of our meal, a stark contrast to what once had been our shared laughter over dinners filled with warmth and connection. "I've noticed you've been distant lately," he said cautiously, his voice low but firm. "Is there someone else?" His words hung in the air like a noose tightening around my neck. My heart raced as I considered how much truth lay behind his question. "No," I replied too quickly, guilt flooding through me as I avoided his gaze. "Don't lie to me," he pressed, frustration creeping into his tone. "I can feel it." I wanted to tell him everything, the emotional void that had driven me into Alex's arms, but fear held me back. Instead, I offered vague reassurances and excuses that felt hollow even as they left my lips. As the days turned into weeks, Alex's offer loomed larger in my mind while conversations with my husband grew increasingly strained. Each night spent tossing in bed felt heavier than the last, sleep eluded me as thoughts churned relentlessly within. One evening after work, Alex suggested we take a walk along Scioto Mile, a stretch of riverfront where couples often strolled hand in hand under twinkling lights reflecting off water's surface. The idea seemed innocent enough until we arrived there together. Suddenly all those unsaid feelings hung thickly between us. "Laura," he said softly as we paused at the riverbank overlooking the water flowing steadily past us under dusk's embrace. "I don't want to leave without knowing what this means." His words resonated deep within, a call echoed by every fiber of my being yearning for clarity amid chaos swirling around us both. "I don't know how to answer that right now," I admitted finally after what felt like an eternity spent searching for words that wouldn't betray either of us further still yet reveal too much vulnerability exposed already laid bare before each other countless times over these past few months navigating this treacherous path together since first crossing lines drawn long ago never meant crossed ever again until now. He stepped closer then, an invitation wrapped within uncertainty, and before reason could catch up with desire once more overpowering common sense completely overtaken by emotions spiraling wildly out control yet again. We kissed again, this time deeper than before. A moment suspended outside time itself where nothing else mattered except us lost entirely immersed within each other forgetting world beyond fading away slowly dissolving into nothingness surrounding our fragile bubble formed against all odds defying everything expected from reality itself. But reality couldn't be ignored forever. It crashed down upon me harshly just moments later when Alex pulled away breathless searching desperately for answers mirrored confusion reflected back from within myself unable grasp fully what just transpired between us once more reawakening desires long buried beneath layers built up years spent trying hold on to something slipping through fingers fast becoming too familiar feeling lost amidst swirling chaos surrounding both lives intertwined somehow, yet separated by circumstances beyond control. Returning home later that night brought no solace. Instead, only heightened anxiety gnawed relentlessly at inside's churning stomach reminding constantly choices looming ahead weighed heavily upon shoulders pushing down harder each passing second ticking away toward inevitable confrontation awaiting resolution. Desperately sought yet seemingly unattainable still. Days passed slowly afterward filled with silence stretching taut between conversations shared across dinner tables barely touching surface deeper issues underlying simmering beneath facade maintained outwardly intact despite fractures becoming increasingly visible. Within marriage previously thought stable now teetering precariously edge brink collapse threatening plunge headfirst into unknown depths awaiting discovery just waiting take plunge dive headfirst into depths unknown risking everything left behind already fading fast away. Then came news from Alex. He'd accepted the job offer after all. A decision made hastily perhaps but one fueled by urgency longing escape uncertainty clouding future ahead leaving behind memories forged together intertwined forever shaping lives forever changed irrevocably altered paths chosen diverging sharply toward different destinies awaiting discovery just waiting take plunge dive headfirst into depths unknown risking everything left behind already fading fast away. Standing before mirror next morning preparing face day ahead reflections staring back filled confusion swirling emotions bubbling beneath surface threatening spill forth unbidden revealing truths hidden deep inside longing escape confines shackled tight bound tightly held. Together fragile threads fraying slowly unraveling completely exposing raw edges vulnerable places never meant shown exposed bare naked truth laid bare open wide revealing authenticity rarely seen shared only glimpsed fleeting. Moments passed between them lost forever now slipping through fingers fast becoming distant memories fading slowly away forgotten echoes lingering long after departed leaving only remnants scattered haphazardly around ground once stable now shaken foundation, crumbling slowly beneath weight pressing down upon shoulders bearing burdens too heavy carry alone anymore. The morning light filtered through the window, casting a warm glow across the room. I stood in front of the mirror, my reflection revealing a woman caught between two worlds. The weight of my choices pressed heavily on my chest, each breath a reminder of the tangled web I had woven. Alex's face flashed in my mind, his smile both comforting and unsettling. How had we reached this point? My husband's voice echoed from the kitchen, a mundane reminder of our shared life. He was preparing breakfast, but I could sense the tension lingering in the air like an uninvited guest. The confrontation from last night replayed in my mind, his accusations, my defensive replies. It had been a moment of raw honesty that neither of us had anticipated. "Are you coming?" he called out, his tone more impatient than usual. I took a deep breath and stepped away from the mirror, forcing myself to face him. As I walked down the hall, I couldn't help but think about Alex's frustration with my indecision. He had expressed it so clearly during our last conversation when he said, "You need to choose what you want." Those words echoed in my mind now as I entered the kitchen. "Morning," I said softly, pouring myself a cup of coffee. The familiar aroma filled my senses but did little to soothe me. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, glancing up from his plate. "Not really," I admitted, avoiding his gaze. He nodded as if he understood more than he let on. "We need to talk about things," he said carefully. "About us." The knot in my stomach tightened at his words. This was it, the moment that could either mend our marriage or break it completely. "What do you want to talk about?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I know something's been off lately," he started slowly. "You've been distant." "Distant?" The word stung more than I expected. "Yes," he replied sharply, frustration creeping into his tone. "You're not yourself anymore." I wanted to scream that it was him who had changed, that his late nights and secretive phone calls had created this chasm between us. Instead, I swallowed hard and chose silence. "We can work this out," he continued, leaning forward earnestly. "But we need to be honest with each other." Honesty felt like a double-edged sword right then, one that could cut deep into both our hearts. Did he truly want to mend things? Or was this just another attempt to keep me from drifting further away? "I don't know if we can fix everything," I finally said, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. His expression softened momentarily before hardening again with resolve. "What does that mean?" "It means," my voice faltered as Alex's face swam back into focus, his laughter during late-night work sessions and those stolen moments that felt so real yet so wrong all at once. Before I could gather my thoughts, there was a knock at the door, a sharp interruption that pulled us both back into reality. "I'll get it," I muttered and walked toward the front door, grateful for the distraction but also anxious about who might be on the other side. Opening it revealed Alex standing there with an unreadable expression on his face, a mix of determination and uncertainty that mirrored my own feelings perfectly. "Laura," he began before glancing past me into the house as if searching for something hidden within its walls. "Alex," I replied cautiously. "We need to talk too." His voice was firm yet gentle, an anchor amidst my swirling emotions. My heart raced as I glanced back at my husband still seated at the table behind me. They were both waiting for answers, two men vying for different pieces of me while both threatening to unravel everything if pushed too far. "I don't think now is a good time," I trailed off uncertainly. Part of me wanted to slam the door shut and hide from both conversations brewing just beneath the surface. It is important, Alex insisted gently but firmly enough that it sent shivers down my spine. There was urgency in his eyes that made me hesitate before inviting him inside with a reluctant nod. He stepped over threshold cautiously as though entering sacred ground. An unspoken agreement hanging thickly in air between us like smoke from extinguished candles forgotten long ago amidst celebrations turned sour by time's passage and choices made a long way leading us here now standing together yet apart. What's going on? My husband broke through first. Tension radiated off him like heat waves rising from asphalt under summer sun glaring harshly down upon us all caught within this moment suspended between breaths taken too quickly or too slowly depending upon perspective held tightly within grasp. Alex looked at me then back at him before responding carefully. We need clarity about what's happening between us. We do? My husband shot back incredulously while crossing arms defensively against chest. The gesture familiar yet foreign all at once as if armor donned against impending battle fought not with swords but words exchanged carelessly tossed around like grenades waiting detonate any second now. Yes. Alex's gaze remained steady even under scrutiny. There was strength behind those eyes shining brightly despite shadows lurking nearby threatening swallow everything whole should we allow them passage unchecked through cracks left exposed by years gone by without nurture or care taken in sure foundations strong enough withstand storms brewing outside waiting strike when least expected. I'm not sure what you think is happening here. My husband began but faltered under weight carried forth by silence stretching taut across room filled with unspoken truths begging acknowledgement long overdue. Laura needs to decide what she wants. Alex interjected sharply cutting through tension thickening air surrounding us all like fog creeping silently upon unsuspecting landscape obscuring vision clarity sought after desperately by those caught within its grasp unable see clearly ahead anymore. A chill ran down my spine. Those words felt like an ultimatum delivered without malice yet heavy nonetheless, a burden placed squarely upon shoulders already bowed beneath pressures mounting higher day after day leaving little room breathe freely anymore. I don't know. My voice broke finally spilling forth raw emotion pent up inside bursting forth uncontrolled flooding space surrounding us drowning out everything else until only echoes remained ringing loudly within ears deafening silence following closely behind. The look exchanged between them spoke volumes. Two men grappling for control over pieces of me neither fully understanding how fragile balance maintained thus far teetering precariously upon edge brink collapse imminent should either push too hard or pull away too soon leaving nothing behind except echoes memories, fading fast. What do you want? My husband asked quietly now cutting through chaos swirling around us demanding answer even though uncertainty lingered thickly still hanging heavy above heads bowed low beneath weight carried forth by choices made long ago leading us here standing together yet apart yearning. Connection lost a long way somewhere hidden beneath layers built up over years spent navigating paths chosen blindly without thought given consequences awaiting arrival just beyond horizon looming ever closer threatening. Swallow whole whatever remained intact thus far. I opened mouth prepare respond but found voice lost somewhere deep inside battling demons awakened stirred restlessness bubbling forth demanding acknowledgement long denied craving release freedom found only through honesty shared openly laid bare exposed raw vulnerable. Places never meant shown never meant shared until now faced truth head-on no longer hiding behind facades crafted carefully over time built walls strong enough withstand storms raging outside waiting strike when least expected. And just like that, the possibility hung thick in air vibrating against skin electrifying senses awakening dormant desires buried deep beneath layers accumulated over years spent living life half-heartedly chasing dreams deferred awaiting fulfillment promised long ago. Never quite arriving leaving emptiness behind aching void longing fill somehow find solace somewhere else perhaps even amidst chaos unfolding right now before eyes wide open wondering how much longer could pretend everything fine. When truth lay scattered around feet waiting picked up embraced fully without fear judgment passed down harshly cast aside simply because choices made led astray down paths less traveled. with heart pounding fiercely against ribcage threatening escape altogether should decision come swift sudden unexpected forcing hand reveal truths hidden deep inside yearning release finally after so many years spent wandering aimlessly searching desperately longing. Connection found only fleeting moments past shared briefly before slipping away forever lost amidst shadows lurking nearby ready pounce upon unsuspecting souls daring venture forth beyond borders set long ago boundaries drawn. Tightly kept safe secure away from harm even while knowing fully well dangers lurk just beyond reach waiting strike when least expected leaving nothing behind except echoes memories fading fast becoming distant whispers carried away winds blowing softly across. Landscape shifting sands beneath feet unsure footing found nowhere solid ground left stand upon any longer. The weight of the last few weeks pressed heavily on my chest, each breath a reminder of the choices I had yet to make. The unexpected health scare had jolted me into a reality I hadn't wanted to confront. Sitting in my car outside the office, I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror, searching for clarity in the chaos that had become my life. I needed to decide what mattered most, my marriage or the connection I had found with Alex. The project offer loomed over me like a storm cloud, promising new challenges but also demanding commitment and focus. My phone buzzed beside me, a text from Alex lighting up the screen. "Can we talk?" His words sent a rush of warmth through my veins, but alongside it came a wave of guilt. How could I face him when everything felt so tangled? My heart raced as I considered his request. Each moment spent with him had been a reprieve from my reality, yet it also deepened the divide between what I had and what I craved. As I pulled into a parking space near Scioto Mile Park, I took a deep breath and stepped out into the crisp air. The park was alive with the vibrant colors of autumn, leaves swirling down like confetti celebrating change. I walked along the riverfront path, trying to gather my thoughts amidst the beauty surrounding me. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden rays that danced on the water's surface. It reminded me of those fleeting moments with Alex, bright and full of promise yet tinged with uncertainty. Each step echoed with memories of our late-night conversations and shared laughter that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. I spotted Alex sitting on a bench by the water's edge, his expression pensive as he watched the ripples form and fade. As I approached, he looked up, his eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Hey," he said softly, motioning for me to join him. "Hey," I replied, taking a seat beside him. The air between us crackled with unspoken tension. "I've been thinking about everything," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "About us." My heart raced at his words, they hung in the air like an unsaid confession waiting to be released. "Me too," I managed to say, feeling vulnerability wash over me. He turned to face me fully. "I got an offer for that job out of state. It's great for my career." His gaze searched mine for any sign of how I'd respond. I swallowed hard as reality crashed over me like waves against rocks. His opportunity meant distance between us, perhaps an end to whatever this was growing between us. "When do you have to decide?" "Soon," he replied quietly. "But part of me doesn't want to go." The weight of his admission settled heavily between us. It was both a relief and an ache that twisted in my gut. Did he truly feel that way about me? Or was it simply fear of change? "I can't ask you to stay because of me," I said finally, grappling with my own emotions while trying not to impose mine upon him. "I know," he said softly but firmly. "But if we don't figure this out now, it might be too late." A silence enveloped us as we both stared out at the water shimmering under the fading sunlight. The world around us faded into insignificance. All that mattered were our choices and their consequences looming ahead like shadows. "What if we just took some time," he suggested suddenly, breaking through my thoughts. "To see where this goes without all these pressures?" My heart sank at his proposition but also fluttered at its possibility. A chance to explore this connection without immediate commitments weighing down on us both. Yet deep inside stirred doubts about whether such time would merely prolong inevitable heartache. I don't know if that's possible, I admitted quietly. Fear crept back into my mind like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. Laura, his voice was gentle but insistent as he turned toward me once more. I care about you. Those words struck deeper than anything else could have. They pierced through layers built over years spent avoiding truths too painful to acknowledge fully until now. Just then, my phone buzzed again, another message from home reminding me how fragile everything truly felt right now. We need to talk tonight. Panic flared within me as I glanced back at Alex. There was no denying what lay ahead if things continued down this path, consequences that could shatter everything or reshape it entirely depending on how courageously we faced them together or apart. I have to go, I said suddenly, urgency pushing through every syllable despite wanting desperately not to leave this moment behind just yet. Laura, he reached out for my hand but hesitated before making contact, the tension palpable between us as our fingers brushed lightly against one another before pulling away entirely too soon. I'll think about what you said, I promised before standing up abruptly. Every instinct screamed for clarity while simultaneously urging retreat from something so beautifully complicated yet undeniably dangerous all at once. As I walked away toward my car parked nearby, each step felt heavier than before, an internal battle raging fiercely within as uncertainty loomed larger than ever before. Could love blossom amid chaos? Would facing fears lead only further astray or towards something worth fighting for? With every heartbeat echoing louder than ever against ribcage walls constricting tighter around choices made thus far, and those still left unmade, I knew one thing clearly: whatever lay ahead would demand more than mere contemplation. It would require action born from truth rather than fear alone. The air was thick with tension as I pulled into the driveway, my heart racing. My husband's car was parked outside, a sight that usually stirred feelings of comfort. But today, it felt like a prelude to confrontation. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever awaited inside. As I stepped through the door, the familiar scent of dinner wafted through the air, a comforting reminder of home. Yet, it felt foreign under the weight of my decisions. My husband, Mark, stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot on the stove. He turned at the sound of my footsteps, his expression unreadable. "Hey," he said casually, but there was an edge to his voice that hinted at unspoken words. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I moved toward him, trying to gauge his mood. "Dinner's almost ready," he continued, attempting to keep things light. "I thought we could talk after." I nodded, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. The conversation we needed to have loomed large between us like an uninvited guest. After dinner, we settled into our usual spots on the couch, me with my legs tucked under me and him leaning back with his hands behind his head. The silence stretched out like an unwelcome blanket until he finally broke it. "I've been thinking about us," Mark said slowly. "About what's been happening." His words hung in the air like smoke from a fire, dense and suffocating. I braced myself for accusations or blame but found only concern in his eyes. "I know things haven't been great," he continued. "And maybe I haven't been the best husband lately." He paused before continuing with a vulnerability I hadn't seen in years. "But I want to make things right." The sincerity in his voice pierced through my defenses momentarily. Memories of our early days together flickered like old film reels, moments filled with laughter and connection that now felt distant. "I appreciate that," I managed to say, though it tasted bitter on my tongue. Mark leaned forward slightly. "I want us to go on that trip we talked about, the one to Asheville." His gaze held mine firmly as if willing me to see his intent. My mind raced back to Alex, the way he made me feel alive again amidst this stagnation. The thought of leaving town with Mark felt like an escape route from reality rather than a step toward mending our relationship. "I'll think about it," I replied cautiously, unsure if those words were meant for him or myself. Just then, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, a message from Alex flashing across the screen. Just accepted the job offer. A chill coursed through me at those words. It felt like a finality hanging over us both, an end before any real beginning could take shape. My heart sank as I realized what this meant. Alex would be leaving Columbus soon, taking with him all those moments we shared, the laughter and late-night talks that had become my lifeline. Mark noticed my sudden change in demeanor and frowned slightly. "Laura. What's wrong?" I hesitated before responding. How could I explain without unraveling everything? Instead, I forced a smile and shook my head dismissively. "Just work stuff." He studied me for a moment longer before nodding slowly but didn't press further, a silent agreement to avoid confrontation for now. Later that night as I lay in bed beside Mark, sleep eluded me entirely. Instead, thoughts spiraled out of control, each one more frantic than the last as they collided inside my mind like waves crashing against rocks. What did I truly want? The comfort of familiarity or the thrill of something new? Could love exist in both places at once? When dawn broke over Columbus and sunlight streamed through our bedroom window, clarity began to seep into those chaotic thoughts. If Alex was leaving town, and potentially leaving me behind, I had one last chance to confront everything head-on. I needed closure, not just for him but also for myself, to understand what this connection truly meant amidst all this turmoil. After showering and dressing quickly in hopes of catching Alex before he left town for good, I grabbed my keys and headed out without waking Mark, his peaceful face contrasting sharply with the storm brewing inside me. Driving through familiar streets felt surreal. Each turn brought memories flooding back. The times Alex had made me laugh when life felt unbearably heavy or offered support when doubts crept in uninvited. Arriving at his apartment complex felt strange yet exhilarating. Every heartbeat echoed louder against ribcage walls constricting tighter around choices made thus far, and those still left unmade. I parked and took a deep breath before stepping out onto solid ground. As I approached his door on shaky legs filled with uncertainty yet determination alike, my hand poised above the doorbell, I hesitated briefly before pressing it firmly enough that there was no turning back now. Moments later, Alex opened the door. Surprise flickered across his face before melting into something deeper, a mixture of concern and understanding that mirrored my own internal conflict precisely. "Laura," he asked softly as if sensing everything unsaid between us already hung heavy in the air surrounding us both. "I need to talk," came out more urgent than intended. Desperation laced every syllable spoken aloud as if uttering those words might shatter any remaining barriers between us completely. He stepped aside wordlessly allowing me entry while closing distance between us further still, a charged atmosphere enveloping us both instantly as realization dawned upon me. This might be our last moment together before life took us down separate paths forevermore. And just then another message pinged on my phone, this time from Mark. "We need to talk." Panic surged within alongside guilt. Two worlds colliding violently around choices made thus far left no room for soft resolutions anymore. With both paths diverging ahead, one leading toward potential heartbreak yet possibility alongside Alex while another beckoned toward reconciliation cloaked beneath layers of familiarity, I stood frozen between them. The weight of decisions loomed larger than ever before, consequences awaited just beyond this threshold.